Okay, Chapter 7, Measurement. This is 7.1. Units of length, analysis 1, units of length. So the U.S. customary system, the U.S. customary system is a system of measurements that contain units for length, capacity, and weight. So again, the U.S. customary system is a system of measurements that contains units for length, capacity, and weight. The metric system is a decimal system of measurement based on the powers of 10 that contain units for length, capacity, and mass. Again, the metric system is a decimal system, and it is a decimal system of measurement based on powers of 10. We're going to work on conversions. A conversion factor is a rate that equals 1. We want to remember that relationships and the conversion factors have things that have to do with each other. For example, we know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. We also know that if we wrote this as a conversion, the conversion would be 1 foot to 12 inches, or we could say 12 inches per every 1 foot. Let's try converting a couple of units. I have 36 quarts and I want to convert it to gallons. 36 quarts to gallons, we need to know the conversion. So to get from quarts to gallons, you would need to know that for every 1 gallon, it has 4 quarts. And we're going to write that a couple of times. We know, and I'm going to put in this bubble, 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. Now, we start with our number, 36 quarts. That's what the information that they gave you. And then you're going to write out, so you write 36 quarts. Then you're going to multiply it by its conversion factor. When you're doing this, to get gallons, we have to have quarts in the denominator. So I'm going to write that out just to remind you. When I pick 1 gallon equals 4 quarts, I'm going to write the fraction of 1 gallon over 4 quarts. And the reason why is because it asked about quarts. So whatever you start with, units you start with, the conversion should have this in its denominator. And why is that? Well, when you have quarts like this, you would write it over 1. And you know that you can cross cancel. So we can cross cancel quarts and then multiply straight across. 36 times 1 gallon would give me 36 gallons. 1 times 4, no units, would give me 4 with nothing for units. Then I would divide. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I would get 9 gallons. Let's look at the next one. We want to convert 20 centimeters to inches. We want to use the conversion factor of 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. We want to make sure that centimeters, because that's what's given, 20 centimeters, is going to have the centimeters on the bottom. So when I cross cancel, centimeters cancels out. Then I multiply straight across. 20 times 1 is 20. And 1 times 2.54 is 2.54. when I divide, I get 7 87/100 inches. Let's talk about the conversions that you should know. I'm going to give you quite a long list throughout the chapter that you will need to memorize. You may need to make flashcards or practice them in different capacities so that you can memorize these different setups. 12 inches is also the same as 1 foot. Or you could say 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Or 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. And 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. All of these are extremely important. I would highlight this entire box because these are mandatory, expected, very much high expectations that you know these conversions. Let's convert 5 feet to inches. What do we know about 5 feet? We're going to start by writing 5 feet. We're going to think to ourselves, what do we know about a foot? We know in 5 feet that we know something about 1 foot. What do we know about a foot? And what do we know about inches? That's what we want to get to. So we know that in a foot, there are 12 inches. We've got inches as our end game, and we've got feet. So now we can cancel feet and foot because they're the same, and we can multiply across. 5 times 12 is 60, and 1 would be on the denominator here. 1 times 1 is 1, so I get 60 inches. Let's look at this table here. This table is actually available in your textbook, and it again states the ones that are very important. Feet to inches, feet to yards, and feet to miles. Again, if I'm giving it to you twice, then you should probably put some more emphasis on it, that it's really important that you memorize these. It's not acceptable that you don't know them. 12 inches to 1 foot, 1 yard is 3 feet, and 1 mile is 5,280 feet. The most common ceiling height in houses is 8 feet. How many yards is this? So we have feet, and we want to convert it to yards. So for 8 feet, we know what about feet? We know that there is 1 yard is 3 feet. And we're going to use that information and put it up over here. I need feet in the bottom, and my goal is yards. So we fill that in first because I know I'm asked or given feet, and I'm asked for yards. Asked goes on top, what you're given goes on the bottom. I know that 1 yard is 3 feet. I'm going to cancel out my feet, and I'm going to multiply across. So 8 over 3 yards. Now I know that that's not complete because I can simplify 8/3. I can simplify 8/3 to 2 because 3 times 2, right, is 6 plus 2 is 8. So 2 2/3 yard is an acceptable answer, or you could put it as a decimal and say 2.6 repeating yards. Both of these are acceptable answers. Let's convert 56 inches to yards. 56 inches. Well, what do we know about inches and what do we know about yards? I know there are 12 inches in 1 foot, and then I know that for every 3 feet is 1 yard. So we might have to do more than one conversion. So let's start with what we know. We know 56 inches. From inches, we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. And I need inches on the bottom so that I can cancel those out. But I'm not to yards yet. So what do we know about feet? I know that 3 feet is 1 yard. So again, we can cancel out our feet because feet cross cancels. And I get my end number. So 56 inches to 1, or how many yards? Let's look. So 56 times 1 is 56. And 12 times 3 is 36. And again, we're at yards. Now we have to simplify that. So we put that in the calculator, or we can simplify by dividing. And I would divide by 4, and we could get 11/9, or 1 5/9 yard. Or you could put it in the calculator, like I said, and get 1.5 repeating yards. Both of those are acceptable answers. A football field is 100 yards long. How many inches long is a football field? So it wants us to go from 100 yards to inches. Let's start off by 100 yards. I want to know, how do I get from yards to inches? Well, we're going to have to do the same thing that we did up top, except we're going to go backwards now. We know about yards. We know that 1 yard is 3 feet. And we can cross off yards. Did we get to inches yet? Nope. Let's do it again. I know that every foot has 12 inches. Now I know that feet are done, and I go from 100 yards to inches. So we multiply. 100 times 3 is 300 times 12. 3 times 12 is what I would have done preferred. So 3 times 12 is 36, and then multiply by 100, add the 2 zeros. Inches over 1, so it's just 3,600 inches. We also have time conversions. We need to know 1 hour is 60 minutes and 1 minute is 60 seconds. Sometimes it's going to ask you to do multiple conversions, and they're going to ask you to do miles per hour to feet per minute. That is the most common conversion. So miles per hour, or mph, or feet per second. That would be something that I've seen multiple times on an assessment. The maximum speed limit on parts of a highway in northern Michigan was recently raised to 75 miles per hour. Convert 75 miles per hour to feet per second. So we're going to start with 75 miles over per 1 hour. And our end needs to be in both feet and in seconds. So we're going to work with the same thing that we talked about before, the miles. What do we know about miles? We know that 1 mile, remember miles has to go on the bottom so that we can cross cancel, is equal to 5,280 feet. We can cross off miles. Now, we have feet, we want feet, so we got feet. Now we need to do seconds. So we have to figure out our hours to our seconds, okay? So we keep that feet, we're not gonna touch it again. What do you know about an hour? I know that 1 hour, right? We have to keep the same thing on the diagonal. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. Cross off your hours. Well, what do I know about 60 minutes? I know that minutes is not seconds, and that's what I asked for. So I know that in 1 minute is 60 seconds. So I'm going to cross off minutes, and I'm going to get what I need to multiply. I need my seconds, and so I've got my feet and I've got my seconds. I'm going to multiply straight across. So I'm going to do 75 times 5,280 in my calculator, and I get 396,000. I'm going to do 1 times 1 times 60 times 60, and I'm going to get 3,600. I'm going to divide these in the calculator, and I get my answer, 110 feet per second. And that's my answer. Let's look at the last example on this page, example 6. You are riding a zip line. Your speed is 15 miles per hour. What is your speed in feet per second? So we're doing the exact same thing, but now we have 15 miles per hour. If we start with 15 miles per 1 hour, and we want to convert it the same way we did here to feet per second, how would we set that up? Again, start with what you're missing. You know you can convert your miles because you know that there's 5,000 in 1 mile. There's 5,280 feet. And that means that you got your feet and you're done converting your miles. In 1 hour, you know that in 1 hour, there's 60 minutes. You've converted your hours to minutes, but you also need to convert it to seconds. So you take your information about 1 minute and you convert it to 60 seconds. Your minutes cancels, and now you multiply straight across. 15 times 5,280 times 1 times 1 is going to give you 79,200. Divided by 1 times 1 times 60, which is 3,600. Divide 79,200 by 3,600, and you get 22 feet per second. Let's convert 27 inches to feet. Try this on your own. We know that 27 inches is equal to 1 foot and 12 inches. The inches will cancel because I have them on the diagonal, and 27 times 1 is 27 over 12 feet. When I simplify this, I'm going to get 2 1/4 foot. Or if you were to do this first, you would see that it's 2 3/12, and I need to simplify that, feet. Or if you divide 27 divided by 12, you would get 2.25 feet. And preferred, the decimal most of the time is what you're going to use as the calculator. Make sure that you are putting in the calculator correctly, that you put 27 divided by 12. A family with a swimming pool puts up a chain link fence around the pool. The fence forms a rectangle 12 yards wide and 24 yards long. If the chain link fence sells for $2.50 per foot, how much will it cost to fence all 4 sides of the pool? We always start with drawing a picture. So we draw our miniature pool picture, and we have our rectangle surrounding our pool. And it tells us that it has 12 yards wide and 24 yards long. It wants to know cost of 4 sides, and it gives us how much it costs per foot. We need to know the perimeter of the whole area. To find perimeter, we add up all the sides. So 24 plus 24, both of the lengths, plus 12 plus 12. And that gives me a grand total of 72 yards. Now, I know that I need to convert 72 yards. We're gonna write convert, and I need to convert it because it gives us $2.50 per foot. So $2.50 per foot is not going to help us if it's in yards. So we have 72 yards, and we know we need feet. We know 1 yard is 3 feet. So I'm going to cancel my yards and I'm going to multiply 72 times 3. That's going to give me 216 feet. Now, I want to know how much it costs per foot. So fortunately, I have the cost per foot. I know that it's $2.50 for 1 foot. So again, look at that. The feet are going to cancel and I'm going to get the cost by multiplying those two numbers together. When I multiply 216 times $2.50, I'm going to get that it costs $540 to fence all 4 sides of the pool. That was our US customary measurement. Now we're going to talk about metric units of length. Metric system is always more challenging for some of the US citizens because we're not used to doing the metric system with our day-to-day lives. The metric system is a system of measurement based on powers of 10. It uses that concept of the meter, which is a little bit longer than our yard. Okay, I've given you below the measurement system. So I want you to understand where it comes from. So if I started with 1 meter, right? This is based on 1 meter for the most part. So 1 meter to decimeters is 10 decimeters. What you mostly talk about though, I would say is 1 meter is 100 centimeters. That's what we want to think about. That's like your yardstick, right? And then if you think about what's smaller than a centimeter is a millimeter. There's 1,000 millimeters in a meter. And that's because, if you aren't sure, that 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. Okay, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So a millimeter is smaller than a centimeter. A decimeter is actually chunks of the centimeters in decimeters. So 1 decimeter, dm, is equal to 10 centimeters. Look at that similarity there. And then when you talk about decameters, that's 1 DAM is equal to 10 meters. So that's 10 meter sticks, or 10 of the yardsticks that you usually see. A hectometer is 100 meter sticks. A kilometer is 1,000 meters. This is another one that I see most often. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. I also see these a lot. We're going to practice converting using the same method. We just need to make sure that we know the conversions, what they're asking us. So this one is asking us to convert 25 millimeters to meters. So what do we know about millimeters and meters? We know that there's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. Let's try it. So we know that we start with our 25 millimeters. We know that millimeters has to go in the denominator because we want to be able to cancel them out. I know that there's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So I'm going to multiply across. I get 25 over 1,000. And when I simplify 25 divided by 1,000, I get 0.025 meters. And that's our answer. Let's look at decimeters to millimeters. Well, we know a decimeter is 10 centimeters and a centimeter is millimeters. So we're going to use that to help us convert. We have 12 decimeters is equal to, what do we know about a decimeter? Well, we know 10, let's start with 10 decimeters is equal to 1 meter. And then we know 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. So because we're able to use this conversion, we could use this one up here, or we could use this one and have gone from decimeters to centimeters and centimeters to millimeters. Either way, it would have worked. So I'm gonna actually use decimeters to millimeters. So decimeters cancels, meters cancels, and I get my millimeters. So I'm gonna multiply across. 12 times 1 is 12, times 1,000 is 12,000. Divided by 10 times 1 is 10. I'm going to cross off the zeros because that's like dividing by 10, and I get my answer, and it's just gonna be what's on top, 1,200 millimeters. Let's try some more. I want to convert 969 meters to kilometers. So we have to know what we need, right? So what do we need to solve this? So there's a couple of things that you can look back at, right? What do we know? We know in kilometers that there's 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. That's enough, that's all we need, right? So we convert. We know we have 969 meters. And what do we know about a meter? And how do we convert it to kilometers? So I know that 1,000 meters, right? 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. That means I can cancel out my meters, and now we write out what we know. I have 969 times 1 is 969, and 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. I divide, and I get 0.969 kilometers. We have centimeters to decimeters. What do we know about centimeters and decimeters? Well, we know that there are 10, we know a couple of things. We know that 1 decimeter is 10 centimeters. So we have 365 hundredths centimeters, and I want to convert it to decimeters. So what do I have to have in this? I want to remind myself, what do I have? So again, 1 decimeter is 10 centimeters. So 1 decimeter is 10 centimeters. Centimeters cancels out. So we have 36.5 times 1 is 36.5 divided by 10. When I divide 36 and 5/10 divide by 10, I'm going to get 3.65 decimeters. There's a couple of other ways that you could have done this. You could have said, okay, I know 336.5 centimeters to 1 centimeter for 100 centimeters for every meter. There's a couple of other ways that you could go this. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you keep that pattern going. Let me show you what I mean. I have 19 centimeters long. For most new pencils, I want meters. So again, 19 centimeters. What do I know about centimeters and meters? I know that in 1 meter is 100 centimeters. I multiply across, I get 19 over 100. As a decimal, we know that this is 0 and 19 hundredths of a meter. And that is 7.1 units analysis 1. This is just length.